I'm very pleased to introduce the Choir Book, a framework for social justice philanthropy, to our network and to the broader field. We really hope that this document can serve as a resource and a tool to help guide you in your grant making as you move forward and apply it in your work. The Bay Area Justice Funders Network is really fortunate to have a number of frontline leaders on our advisory committee. And when we were doing our strategic plan, folks were saying to us, it's so great that you are a network of social justice funders, but do you think you could start talking to folks beyond the choir? And so actually that line of inquiry opened up a pathway for us to begin exploring. Is there a choir within philanthropy? And if so, who's in it? And what do folks really do? And when we started actually interviewing the funders that we work with, we found that we have a lot of solo artists, but in fact, because our work is inherently siloed, we have the reproductive justice funders over here, we have the economic justice funders over here, and very rarely do we find resonance between the two. So in a lot of ways for us, the work of both the Bay Area Justice Funders Network as well as this choir book was an attempt for us to actually begin to build that choir that we can all use and sing in harmony together. One of the important aspects about a choir is that there are folks who have the high notes and folks that have the low notes, and that together there is a stronger melody. And together that's the kind of synergy that we want to create within philanthropy, where our movements are well resourced, where our frontline leaders who are addressing our most pressing issues have the resources that they need to advance structural change here in the United States. And so for us, the framework really is about creating that larger choir within the field that begins to see a material difference in the resources flowing to our communities.
The framework was my first task to come in when I came in to join Bay Area Justice Funders Network, is to take all of the wonderful work that Dana had led to generate these ideas and turn it into this cohesive set of ideas that could really be valuable. And Dana and I worked very closely to do that with our steering committee and the working group. And I'm really excited about the potential for it and the responses we've been getting so far. People saying, wow, this is really filling a gap. And this framework, they're saying, oh, I wish I had this when I first started grant making, and this is how I plan to onboard people who are joining my organization to teach them how to do it right.
The framework for social justice philanthropy has three main components. The values, which are at the very bottom of the document, and they can be seen from any page that you turn to in the framework. These words are at the core of both individual and organizational practice. And we intentionally paired two words together to create greater meaning. So you'll see the words dignity and equity, integrity and authenticity, solidarity and collectivity, courage and responsibility. And against those values, we mapped a set of competencies that we believe social justice funders need to emulate, embody, and include in their practice. These competencies include analytical competence, leadership, strategic, technical, adaptive, and relational competency. These competencies, when applied in the 6 grant-making stages included in the framework, really give each grant maker some specific ways in which they can both grow their own individual practice as well as deepen the practice within their grant-making organization. And lastly, in the 6 stages of this framework, we have the 6 primary stages that are found in most grant-making organizations, although will probably look different depending on the institution. And we really divided them up by the activities that most grant makers include, but the way that we've included the application is through a series of questions. In researching this framework, one of the things that we found in our literature reviews and in our interviews with other funders are a number of case studies and white papers of what folks had previously done to achieve greater change within their communities. And the challenge that we found actually in reading through these documents is the application for other funders. We know that inherently a lot of philanthropic institutions are different from one another, and so what worked for one institution may not work for another. And so what we tried to do is actually go back and ask folks, what were the questions that led you to this journey so that we arrive at an answer and not the answer? And what we try to do is actually lift up the questions that folks ask themselves to include in the different stages of grant making, so that as folks go through the framework, what we actually have is a way that people can use their best knowledge of what's working for them in their institution and have a series of questions to help them guide their own strategy development or outreach and application or due diligence for their own practice. We hope you found the Choir Book, A Framework for Social Justice Philanthropy, helpful. And to the degree possible, we encourage you to share it with your peers and networks in the field. We'd love to have your support in really building a choir for social justice issues and movements.